Anyway, I want to talk about a sketch for two reasons here. So I did this Bettie Page ink sketch, and I actually did this for a group called CMB, or I think it may be CW now. I don't know what it is. So what it is that they're the actual company that owns Bettie Page's image rights. They also own Bruce Lee and Elvis's image rights. So you can check that out on the internet one day if you're interested in that. And so what's going on here is that I needed to do an original logo, you know what I'm saying, for that. So one of the things I do is I don't really draw from photographs, and a lot of people kind of freak out when I do that. They're like, well, you know, I mean, they'll get a photograph, say they're doing this, they'll do a Bettie Page, they'll take an old photograph or something from the internet and look at it. What I do is I study the figure, I study the person, and then I try to figure out what makes them look like them, and then I do it in cartoon form. So there's a couple things going on with Bettie Page that are really odd. Now, the people really notice this. One of the things about Bettie Page is she has slanted eyes, like they sloped eyes. She has eyes that are sloped, and kind of they give her kind of a bit of a sad look. Now, you're not really going to notice that if you first go seeing her, you know, whatever, on a picture of the internet, and but when she doesn't wear makeup, or when you see her when she's older, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. One of the other weird things about it is that she had a very high rib cage. Now, this is very indicative to Italian women. Okay, now I don't know. Clearly, Bettie Page is American. She's not you know, but I would not be surprised if she had an Italian background. And the reason why is this: you can also see this this particular phenomenon and some of the Fellini girls. So you see a movie producer, very celebrated movie producer from Italy, Fellini, and he kind of picks the Fellini girls that he picks in his films, including, you know, Bridget Bardot. They have these they have this particular strange trait where the rib cage is high. Okay, now what this does in real life is it gives the impression that they have their breasts are hanging actually quite high on their chest, which is strangely enough is actually true. So that gives them a particular a particularly voluptuous look even when they are skinny. See what I'm saying? So then I went about, I have a certain way of inking, and I have put on the fishnets here because Bettie Page got in quite a bit of trouble when during the late 50s and early 60s when she was doing these bondage. They were actually kind of cutesy bondage, kind of fun play. They're not pornographic, but fun play, bondage, sexuality, motifs in her little films, and little black and white films and what have you. And they didn't take well to it because the Christian conservatives were very against that kind of notoriety, so to speak. Probably why they came out with a movie called the Notorious Bettie Page, which Bettie Page herself, before she died, did not like that movie, by the way. So anyway, this has to do also a little bit with the way I feel about Frank Franzetta's teaching, because Frank Franzetta, unlike Boris Vallejo and these other people, what's up with him is that he does not use models or reference photos. He learns the anatomy of the human body, and then he goes about drawing it. That's why I think Frank Franzetta is one of the best artists that ever lived. I know that sounds a little bit maybe aggrandizing, but I believe that. And so when I do a lot of graffiti work and stuff, I don't use reference. I just do things out of my head. And it has to do with understanding the anatomy and the person's character traits that make them look like them. And in this particular case, this Bettie Page logo, ink logo, I use that very technique.